the reason most traders never make it, and the one discipline that saves you. If you're hearing my voice now, then you are already far ahead of the traders who came before you, because most of them never lived long enough in the market to understand the truth I'm about to tell you. You think your biggest challenge is strategy. You think it's timing. You think it's indicators, news, or volatility. But you are wrong. And if you don't realize how wrong you are, the market will make sure you learn it in the most painful way possible. I watched men lose fortunes they spent years building, not because they didn't understand the market, but because they didn't understand themselves. I watched traders with brilliance destroy themselves in a single afternoon because their discipline cracked for just one moment of excitement, one moment of fear, one moment of ego, one moment where emotion felt louder than logic. You may not know this yet, but discipline is not something you want. It is something you either have or you do not survive without. You can have the best plan in the world. You can memorize every chart pattern, every technical setup, every market behavior ever written, but none of it matters if you cannot control the one thing that takes everything from traders, your own impulses. I am telling you this not as a warning, but as a confession. Every great fall I ever had, every disastrous loss, every collapse people still whisper about, was born from one simple truth. I knew what I should do, and I didn't do it. That is the enemy you face today, not the market, not volatility, not manipulation. Your enemy is the version of you that appears the moment your emotions begin steering your hands, and you live in a world where emotion attacks faster and louder than in any time I ever knew. Your screens scream at you. Social media pulls you in every direction. Alerts fire like gunshots. Opinions flood your mind before your own judgment even wakes up. If you do not have unshakable discipline in this world, you will break. And once you break, the market will not give you the time or the mercy to recover. So before I show you the method, before I teach you the structure, before I reveal the truth I wrote for the traders of the future, I want you to understand this. Most traders never fail because they were wrong about the market. They fail because they were wrong about themselves. Your task is simple to say and brutally difficult to live. Become the trader who does what he said he would do long after the moment he said it has passed. If you can do that, you can survive anything. If you cannot, the market will teach you discipline through losses you never needed to suffer. Stay with me, because what comes next is the lesson that saved my life, and the only lesson that can save yours. If my words have reached you across decades, then I know one thing about the age you live in. The markets are louder, faster, and more dangerous than anything I ever witnessed in my lifetime. But the truth I am about to share with you is older than my era, older than your era, and older than the markets themselves. Discipline is the foundation of every great trader, and the absence of it is the unseen force that destroys more accounts than crashes, panics, or bear raids ever did. I did not learn this lesson peacefully. It was carved into me. With every mistake I swore I would never repeat, and then repeated anyway. The market has a way of showing you not who you want to be, but who you truly are when pressure is at its greatest. And I will tell you the truth. Most traders of your era refuse to accept. You do not rise to the level of your strategy. You fall to the level of your discipline. If discipline fails, everything fails. It does not matter what system you use, what analysis you've mastered, or how intelligent you believe you are. Without discipline, every edge becomes meaningless, every plan collapses, and every decision is at the mercy of your emotions. When I was young, standing in the bucket shops, watching numbers flicker across the tape, I believed mastery was about understanding price. But with age, and with more losses than I would ever admit, I learned that mastery is about understanding yourself. Do not make the mistake of thinking discipline is just self-control. Self-control is a moment. Discipline is a lifestyle. Self-control bends under pressure. Discipline stands unmoved. Self-control reacts. Discipline prevents the reaction from happening at all. Let me take you into one of the darkest lessons I ever faced. because until you understand this side of trading, you will always underestimate how deeply discipline is tied to survival. There was a period in my life when I believed I was invincible. My trades were working. My timing was sharp. The newspapers praised me. The men in the exchanges watched me. I felt like I possessed an understanding of the market that others could not reach. That feeling, that intoxicating belief that I had figured it out, was the beginning of a downfall I did not see coming. One morning, the tape began moving faster than usual. A stock I had followed for weeks made a sharp surge upward. My analysis told me to wait. My rules told me to hold steady. But my ego whispered, "What if this is the move you've been waiting for? You don't want to miss it." It was a small crack in my discipline, barely noticeable. But the smallest cracks create the largest collapses. I ignored my rules for excitement. I ignored my timing for impatience. I ignored my preparation for the thrill of being right. And the market punished me instantly, not because I was wrong about the direction, but because I was wrong about myself. I wasn't acting from clarity. I was acting from emotion disguised as confidence. The loss that followed was not just a financial one. It was psychological. It tore open a truth I had been avoiding for years. A trader does not lose to the market. A trader loses to himself. Every major loss I ever took began with a moment where I betrayed my own rules, not because I lacked intelligence, but because I lacked discipline. And that is why I am writing this to you. Trader of the future, you live in a world where discipline is harder to maintain than at any time in history. In my day, noise came from a few sources: a newspaper, a rumor, a broker's opinion. Today, noise comes from everywhere. Your charts speak, your alerts scream, your social feeds pulse with excitement and fear and poison disguised as guidance. Your mind is being pulled in 1,000 directions before you even place a single trade. How can a trader build discipline in a world like this? Let me show you. Discipline begins long before you enter a trade. It begins in the silence before the storm. It begins the moment you sit down at your desk and decide who you are going to be. Today, the trader without discipline is already defeated before the market opens. He wakes up, checking futures, checking headlines, checking influencers, checking predictions, checking things that make his mind shake instead of settle. His first trade of the day begins with panic, not planning, and panic has only one destination. The disciplined trader, on the other hand, builds structure around his mind before building structure around his trades. He prepares, he reviews, he breathes, he sharpens his awareness. He moves slowly, deliberately, with intention. Most importantly, he refuses to let emotion choose for him. You want discipline? Then you must understand this. Discipline is not the ability to resist emotion. It is the ability to prevent emotion from becoming part of your process. Emotions will always exist. They belong to you as much as your hands and your heartbeat. You cannot remove them, but you can remove their influence. This is where most traders fail. They try to become emotionless, a foolish pursuit that leads to frustration and self-deception. Emotions are not the enemy. Reaction is, and discipline is the shield that stops reaction from controlling you. Let me take you deeper. Discipline comes from identity, not from force, not from punishment, not from regret. Identity. When I was at my best, I did not need to remind myself to follow my rules. I followed them because I was the type of man who followed them. When I was at my worst, I justified every betrayal with excuses that felt logical, but were born from fear. The disciplined trader does not ask, "What should I do?" He asks, "Who am I in the market?" If you see yourself as someone easily moved by emotion, your trades will reflect that. If you see yourself as someone who reacts to every surge, your entries will reflect that. If you see yourself as someone who cannot stay patient, your timing will reflect that. Identity drives behavior, long before behavior becomes habit. So begin here. Build an identity that can withstand the market. Tell yourself, And believe, I am the trader who waits when others rush. I am the trader who follows structure when others follow excitement. I am the trader who survives because I refuse to betray myself. Once this identity takes root, discipline becomes natural. But identity alone is not enough. You need boundaries. A trader without boundaries is like a ship without a hull. It sinks long before it reaches the storm. I built boundaries around my mind, the same way engineers build walls around dams. Here are the boundaries that saved me, not as rules, but as truths. I never entered a trade without confirmation. I never increased size to chase losses. I never stayed in a room when emotions were rising. I never judged myself by a single trade. I never broke a rule without paying the price. These boundaries did not restrict me. They protected me. Discipline is protection. It protects you from your fears, from your impulses, from your excitement, from the part of you that wants to be right more than it wants to survive. Let me tell you something very few traders understand. Discipline is not boring. Discipline is freedom. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from anxiety. Freedom from the pressure that crushes every trader who cannot control himself. When discipline becomes your way of life, you stop fighting the market and start flowing with it. You stop forcing trades and start waiting for the right ones. You stop chasing opportunity and start receiving it. The disciplined trader does not fear missing out. He fears losing himself. And losing yourself is the most expensive loss in the market. Now, let me speak to you with the full weight of my experience, with the tone of a man who has won fortunes and lost them, who has risen and collapsed, who has carried both triumph and regret. You cannot build unshakable discipline in a single day, but you can begin building it. In every day, discipline grows like a tree, slowly, quietly, invisible, until the moment a storm arrives and the tree remains standing while everything around it breaks. Your storm will come. The question is whether you will be prepared. The market does not reward the strongest trader. It rewards the most stable, the trader whose mind does not collapse when price does. If you absorb nothing else from these words, absorb this. Discipline is not the key to trading. It is the door, and you cannot enter the market successfully while leaving that door closed. You must open it. Every day, every decision, every trade. Discipline is not a task. It is who you become. And if you choose to become a disciplined trader, unshakable, unmoved, clear, then no market in any era will ever be able to break you. Not the one I lived in, not the one you live in now, not the one that will come long after both of us are gone. This is the truth that cost me years of my life and lessons written in blood and ink. May it